Guess it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. This is now day 19 of the new administration. And we were told that Republicans were prepared to lower the high cost of living for everyday Americans. But we've seen nothing, no action, no legislation, no ideas, no proposals, nothing to lower the high cost of living. Despite all of the focus and promises that had been made around lowering costs last year by my Republican colleagues. House Democrats will work with anyone in this town to improve the quality of life of everyday Americans. That's our focus. We want to get stuff done. We want to make life better for the American people. We want to drive down the high cost of living because America is too expensive. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Insurance costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. And child care costs are too high. America is too expensive. Why can't my Republican colleagues agree with that simple proposition and work with Democrats to get something done? No ideas, no bills, no proposals, no executive orders, nothing from Republicans, but chaos and cronyism. How is that lowering the high cost of living for everyday Americans? It's not. It's day 19, and we're still waiting. Questions?
Mr. Leader, good morning. Thank you. We expect sometime before the end of the weekend, maybe Monday, Republicans to release their tax cut and government spending cut plan here. Will Democrats just dismiss that out of hand? And can you elaborate what the concerns are if they start to nibble around the edges of entitlement programs? But by the same token here, the idea that there'll be tax cuts in there, that they would argue is something that would lower costs for people.
We've been waiting for this so-called budget proposal for weeks. When is it coming? And what's the problem? What's the problem? We've been lectured for months by Republicans that they have a big mandate. Where is your bill? Where's your budget proposal? What we've seen from Republicans in terms of the budget is that they want to end Medicaid as we know it, are considering eliminating the mortgage interest deduction, and want to take away veterans benefits and nutritional assistance from children and families. Is that something that Democrats will support? No. We will also not support massive tax breaks for Republican billionaire donors and wealthy corporations while doing nothing to lower the high cost of living for everyday Americans and then sticking working class Americans with the bill. But it's all hypothetical because we've been waiting day after day, week after week, month after month for the Republican budget proposal. Where is it? What's the problem? You've lectured America that you have a big mandate. Where is it?
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Earlier today, Speaker Mike Johnson said that Democrats have been unresponsive over the last couple of days with respect to government funding negotiations. Can you update us on where things stand? What's your response?
Projection.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that? Because he's alleging that Democrats are trying to set up a potential.
Rosa, first of all, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They have every vote that they need, as we've been lectured, to do whatever the heck they want to the American people. Let's be clear about that. It's Not Democrats saying that. That's Republicans. That's the whole idea behind the so-called budget reconciliation process. Republicans have told America repeatedly, we can do whatever we want because we control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Republicans have been saying that. So I think my initial response, projection, should speak for itself in that context. But what also is clear, as Rosa DeLauro has stated publicly, Democrats continue to negotiate with our Republican colleagues. We want to find bipartisan common ground in funding the government to meet the needs of the American people. Rosa DeLauro, who was leading our effort as the top Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee, has been trying to get Republicans to respond to her for weeks. Weeks. In fact, she's had the opportunity to actually speak with Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans. It's projection. We want to find bipartisan common ground. We are working hard to reach a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people in advance of March 14th. I'm hopeful that Republicans are actually willing now to sit down at the table and reach a spending agreement in the best interests of the American people, not in the best interests of their billionaire donors.
When it comes to the next key leverage point you all have would be one of the things the government shutdown avoids. To what extent are Democrats willing to withhold votes? You're arguing about the mandate withstanding, but withhold votes to avoid a government shutdown, and what do you need in exchange? In particular, when it comes to, do you see it as an opportunity to try to stop Musk or
I appreciate the question, Kevin, but I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? Republicans have repeatedly lectured America. They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have? We are going to try to find bipartisan common ground on any issue. We will work with anyone in this town to get things done for the American people, to lower the high cost of living, secure the border, and keep our communities safe while defending dreamers, farm workers, and families at the same time. We have repeatedly made that clear. But Republicans have decided to go it alone. That's what the budget reconciliation process is all about. And so we're ready, willing, and able to work with our Republican colleagues and the current administration, as I have repeatedly stated, on any issue in order to make life better for the American people. That's why we're here. We've made clear from the beginning. There's a season to govern and a season to campaign. We are in the governing season. And so we're ready to work together on any issue. But I'm also confused about the leverage that we allegedly have in the face of such an overwhelming mandate that was given to Republicans by the American people, according to them.
A sticking point for your party after last December was Elon Musk announcing his opposition to the funding bill. Are you looking for reassurances from the Speaker, Republicans, that he won't be involved this time around?
Yeah, we're looking to find common ground and to get to an agreement that meets the needs of the American people in terms of their health, safety, national security, and economic well-being. Pretty simple. It's all we want to do. How do we best protect the American people in terms of their health, which includes but is not limited to Medicare and Medicaid, along with the Affordable Care Act? How do we get to an agreement that protects the American people in terms of their health, their safety, their national security, and their economic well-being?
Mr. Leader, let's say Republicans do come up with this proposal, this tax proposal that you've been looking for. Going back to 2017, are there any lessons that you've learned as you all seize on attacking that 2017 tax bill that you can apply to the conversations that you'll be having in your districts with constituents, with the American people, about the issues that you have with some of these proposals that may be included in this next tax bill?
Yeah, we were very disappointed in 2017 because, once again, the Republicans decided to go it alone. As opposed to working with Democrats in a common sense way, we House Democrats are the common sense caucus. Instead of working with Democrats in a common sense way to actually find bipartisan agreement in 2017 around so-called tax reform, they decided to jam the GOP tax scam down the throats of the American people and set up a situation where 83% of the benefits would go to the wealthiest 1% in America. And every single Democrat said, we can't support that because that's not in the best interest of the American people. Now understand, if you go back to 2017, which your question relates to as a reference point, there was a conversation about lowering the corporate tax rate to make sure America could be more competitive. And the corporate tax rate, as I recall, was at 33%. 33%. And the Obama administration budgets had indicated that we would be prepared to drop the corporate tax rate to 28%. That was the Democratic position. The far-right Republicans were saying we want to drop it to 20 or 21%. The CEOs of America came to us and said, if you can lower the corporate tax rate to 24 or 25%, that would put American companies in a competitive position economically. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if Republicans were really interested in reaching a bipartisan agreement, and on the one hand, you've got Democrats ready to get behind 28%, and on the other hand, you've got Republicans, many of whom were saying 21, but many of whom were also saying lower the corporate rate into the mid-20s, and the CEOs of America were saying 24, 25%. If they actually wanted to work together, as opposed to engaging in projection, we could have landed the plane right at 24, 25%. Instead, here's what Republicans did. They blew through the number of 24 and 25% that corporate America was asking for, landed at 21, and then detonated the state and local tax deduction in order to stick it to people, Democrats and Republicans, in places like New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, the heartland of America, including Illinois, and in California, including people who live in the Pacific Palisades. That's the lesson from the 2017 GOP tax scam. If they replicate that approach, it will be met, I suspect, with the same perspective from House Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I have a broader question just about your party. A lot of your members have expressed concerns that their offices are being flooded with concerns from their constituents, outside groups, activists saying that Democrats, elected officials, are not doing enough to push back against the Trump How do you respond to that kind of criticism?
I sent a 10-point Dear Colleague to members of the House Democratic Caucus on Monday, setting forth the things that are being done to stand up in the best interest of the American people. That correspondence and the actions that continue to be ongoing speak for itself.
I wonder how you approach this next phase of the budget conversation from a very specific angle of preventing a government shutdown. In that, are you worried that Republicans may use the opportunity of passing a continuing resolution that would essentially codify what Elon Musk and the Doge folks are trying to do without congressional approval? So the best example being, if they present you a continuing resolution that zeroes out USAID funding, which would appear to be just something to extend government funding, but they would kind of try and put in some of these proposals that Musk has had. Are you worried that that could be a tactic that they use and then present it as a way to prevent the government from being shut down, but actually they're already starting to begin these budget cuts before they get into the appropriations process and earnest?
House Republicans have refused to sit down in a meaningful way to have these conversations, and so it's hard to be able to assess what they may or may not present. We've been very clear in terms of our framework. We want to find bipartisan common ground consistent with the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act that was passed in a strongly bipartisan way by both the House and the Senate in May of 2023 and remains the law of the land. That is the path forward that will allow everyone to come together to reach a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people.
Jeffries, just to follow up on that, are you saying that Democrats could not agree to a government funding deal while the administration is doing these unilateral spending freezes and trying to get rid of agencies? Do you need them to reverse course on that in order to reach government funding?
Are you saying that I said that?
No, I'm asking you what your position is.
Well, my position is that we have a Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act that was agreed to in a bipartisan way. The majority of Democrats, the overwhelming majority of Democrats, and a majority of Republicans in the House supported that agreement. Same thing happened in the Senate. It was signed into law. It remains the law of the land. We continue to make clear to our Republican colleagues we're ready, willing, and able to reach an agreement. They just have to come to the table. Look, I get it, right? They're spending a lot of time arguing with themselves as part of the ongoing GOP civil war around the budget agreement that we've yet to see presented to the American people. They've been kind of busy fighting amongst themselves around how big the tax cuts will be for their billionaire buddies and how much they're going to cut out of Medicaid as part of their scheme to end it as we know it. I get it. Republicans have been busy. There's an ongoing internal GOP civil war around the budget. They have to get serious about sitting down with Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats, House Democrats, and the administration in order to reach an agreement in advance of March 14th. We look forward to reaching an agreement that meets the needs of the American people.
Some Republicans have raised the prospect of a long-term stopgap as both sides struggle to strike a full-year funding bill for FY 2025. Would Democrats get on board with something like that? And are people started to kind of talk about the threat of the sequestration cuts after April?
It was my understanding that the particular Republican proposal about a continuing resolution, because that has not been presented, as far as I can tell, to Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats, and it certainly has not been presented to House Democrats, is that they were internally contemplating passing a continuing resolution on their own with their big, beautiful mandate.
working class elements like no tax on tips, social security, and overtime. How do you message against the broader tax package when when you might agree with some of those points in the legislation?
We don't know what's in and what's out of the Republican budget proposal because it's been delayed for weeks without us being able to see an actual specific plan of action. And the questions that we continue to ask is what will be done to lower the high cost of living for the American people? Are we protecting Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid? Are we providing tax relief to working class Americans and middle class Americans and all those who aspire to be part of the middle class? Or will the GOP tax scam, part 2, take effect, where the overwhelming majority of benefits will go to the wealthiest 1% in America? These are the questions that we've made clear to our Republican colleagues we will ask, and we look forward to answers being provided to the American people. Last question. Last two, I'm sorry.
So, obviously, there's talk now from the Trump administration about getting rid of the Department of Education. Chances of that happening are very slim, and obviously you do not support that. But there could realistically, potentially be a scale back of the powers of the DOE or some type of significant reduction in spending. Is any type of reform to the Department of Education on the table for you?
Generally, House Democrats will continue to express our desire to work with anyone in this town to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in any federal department or any aspect of the state, local, or federal government that we may encounter. The American people deserve a government that is effective, efficient, and equitable. That's the government that the American people deserve. That's the government that we will continue to work hard to bring about. With respect to any department, the Department of Education has a uniquely important place in the lives of the American people. There is nothing more precious than our children and making sure that they have a high quality public school education, that we lower class sizes, that we protect sports, art, music, and certainly academic enrichment programs. It's important for us to allow the Department of Education to continue to do its work, to be there for children with disabilities. That's the heart, soul, and spirit of America. For the life of me, I can't understand why Republicans want to abolish the Department of Education. It's baffling to me. It's baffling to the American people. And we will continue to defend our public schools.
Thank you, Leader. Let's say that you all are able to establish some kind of bipartisan agreement with the GOP through these talks. Is it a non-negotiable in some way for you all that, would you vote for a bill that did not have some assurances that Elon Musk would not be able, through DOGE or another process, just by fiat, change the entire budget thereafter?
Here's what we've done relative to the unlawful effort to access highly personal and confidential information of the American people. We have introduced the Taxpayer Data Protection Act, which will make sure that the names, addresses, bank account information, birth dates, and Social Security numbers of the American people are protected, not handed over to an unelected and unaccountable billionaire or his minions. We need 3 Republicans in the House of Representatives to join us in supporting the Taxpayer Data Protection Act, and we can deal with the issue of the startling invasion of privacy that will hurt everyday Americans by simply moving that legislation forward, which is why we introduced it as House Democrats this week. We will again be very clear. There's a path forward as it relates to reaching a spending agreement in connection with the upcoming March 14th deadline, and that is compliance with the Bipartisan Fiscal Responsibility Act. Thank you.